In the Emerald Isle, something unexplainable is happening. Tonight, prepare to witness the most frightening event in horror podcast history. A journey into the depths of horror history. First Class Horror presents the Class Horror Cast. Evil wears many masks, but pure horror wears only one. Support First Class Horror on Patreon for as little as $1. Can't get enough of the horror? Carve yourself a deal from official merchandise, only on Teespring. Join us on all social media at First Class Horror. We have such sights to show you.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Class Horrorcast. I'm your host Aaron, and in this week's episode I've got a fantastic surprise for you all. Recently I had the fantastic opportunity to guest on a show called the Plastic Fangs Podcast. This podcast is hosted by Rodney and Jon, both of whom are extremely knowledgeable about movies, and especially the horror genre. Their show has some fantastic content, from things like a Halloween 3 watch party commentary to an incredible interview with Kate Hodge, who has starred in movies such as the Texas Chainsaw 3. These guys have a unique dynamic to their show, built on the foundations of a long friendship with each other and their love for horror. Make sure and do yourself a huge favour and check the guys out now. They're just getting started, and I hope everyone enjoys this as much as we did. So do you guys have, I don't know off the top of your head, some of these questions will probably put you on the spot, but is there a movie that you would, a horror movie, that you would always go back to? Something that you have watched? Let's say if we put aside if you were to pick your favourite movie, is there something that you can think of that you would find yourself, you would rewatch constantly, or...
That's pretty much what I do all the time. What you just said is, I'm like, oh, what, my life? how I live my life. For me, oh my gosh, there's a handful that I go to all the time. Return of the Living Dead, 1985. That is. That's another movie I was afraid of as a kid, because I was like, talking zombies that don't die. Count me out. But no, oh my God, that one I can watch over and over. Fright Night is another one, the original. Another 1985 movie, I think. Gosh, what else? Creep Show. Like Rodney was talking about, like that's like an easy go-to. That's such a great rewatchable movie. And it's not like it's like reinventing the wheel. It's just like it's just fun and almost like, oh yeah, just put that on. It's nice to have in the background. And I think for me, Night of the Creeps. Like those I can just watch over and over. And I always put it just like, oh yeah, watch Night of the Creeps. It's like, you've seen this. Yeah, but I want to see it again. Oh, and the remake of 1990, Night of the Living Dead. There's another one. It's just, they're just comforting, you know?
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, I don't know if those are mainstream, but those they're streaming. Boom. I'll just put it on and watch them. Yeah. And it's like, well, you have all these other things you haven't watched. I know, but I just want to back and watch this. I know this.
I don't feel so bad now, because I've literally done that over the whole Christmas period. I bought so many Arrow Video titles, so many Scream Factory titles, and some of them I hadn't seen. Still haven't opened them, and I've watched the same shit I always watch.
Right.
What about you, Rodney?
Here lately, I know when you were on our podcast, we talked Blair Witch, and actually I'm kind of starting to get into that kind of thing where I want to watch the sci-fi documentary, the faux documentary of the faux documentary, and just kind of go into the Blair universe again and revisit it. But I do always go back to Blair Witch. I'll watch the original over and over again. Apart from that, the Hatchet movies. Yes. I love, I love Adam Green and Joe Lynch, Chillerama, the Hatchet movies, Digging Up the Marrow. Wow. That's one of my favorite films here, because I mean, it is real, but it's like but who is it? It's Ray Wise.
Ray Wise.
He is such an amazing part of that movie, and just kind of watching it unfold. And I'm sure now it's kind of cringeworthy for Adam to go back and watch because his ex-wife is in it and stuff like that. But it's a great story. And it starts off, interviewing us, horror fans, and Adam and Joe are us in a sense, big fans of horror. The show Holliston, pretty much everything that they've kind of done, I go back and rewatch. I know I've rewatched all of Holliston at least 2 or 3 times since it aired on Shudder, and I'm hoping for that season 3. And John now is showing his Holliston Christmas Special Edition VHS.
Yes, I did not get the red one. It's just the reg.
Yeah. See, I didn't even get any of them, Aaron, and he is like, I didn't get the red one. Yeah. Whatever.
That's that weird thing, though, with
yeah.
I find with collecting, and you guys can probably relate. It's like I always feel like no matter what I buy, there's just always something else, and I've started to have this weird. I wouldn't call it a fear, but like I'll say, right, for this month I'm not spending any money on anything like that, and then like 2 days ago I spent $65 on like I bought a Jeepers Creepers trilogy box set just because, well, I don't have it, and I bought a couple of box sets recently, so I need some more. Arrow Books have a Blair Witch book.
Oh yeah.
It was like reduced or something like that. I'm like, yeah, I don't know what it is. I actually literally don't even know what it is. Just bought it for whatever. An Urban Legend trilogy box set that's due out next month. I was like, yeah, I'll buy that, even though I have the movies like 20 times. On every format. And like, but then once I get that and open it and like appreciate it and put it on the shelf and get to look at it, I'm like, and then one of you guys might mention something, I'm like, oh yeah, I need that. Like just when you mentioned Digging Up the Marrow, I was like, I actually don't think I have that. Now I need to go and buy it because it's not good enough to just stream.
Yeah.
Oh,
I know it. Oh, I know. I was really bad in the 2000s. Every Tuesday when the new movies came out, holy cow! I'm like, I got so many bills. What am I doing? Why? I don't need to buy. Okay, they're gonna have 1 million copies of the Two Towers of Lord of the Rings. So why do I got to buy it today? But I did, because I remember when I bought that day, and also Super Troopers came out the same day, so I bought them both because Tuesday was my jam. That's when it's almost like it's a better addiction than drugs, but it definitely is an addiction. I mean, let's just call it what it is. So it's one of those things where, you got to weigh the options. Do I really need this? How much satisfaction is this thing going to give me? Even though, like you said, like I don't need it. I have 1 million copies of the same thing, but I want that one. So again, it's for a collector, it sucks because it's really Sophie choice. Sometimes you got to go, oh God, I don't know if I should do this or not, or can I, but yeah, it's a hard road.
Back when my son was very young, it was before, between the time he was born and the time that he was 2, his mother and I lived in Richmond, which is the capital of Virginia. And we wound up moving like 3 times. And I think it was the 3rd time within those couple of years that I had the DVDs, the vinyl records, comic books. And after moving for a 3rd time in those 2 years, I was like, you know what? I don't need physical copies of anything. So I sold the comics, I sold the records, I sold the DVDs. And yeah, when we moved for a third time, I didn't have all of those. I got rid of a ton of books, and stuff like that. And I was like, we're in the internet age. I can just carry around an iPad and everything will be on there and everything, right? So for Christmas this year, my son gave me a record player. And it's one of those portable vinyl record players. And I was like, you know what? I'm only going to get what I really love and appreciate, right? And so, he gave me a record to go with the record player, Pearl Jam's Gigaton. I'm a huge Pearl Jam fan. So Gigaton, a very appropriate album for 2020 if you've listened. So I had that and I listened to it and stuff, and I was like, going on Amazon, I've got a gift card. I think I'll get Sturgill Simpson. I like Sturgill Simpson. He's a cool guy. So I got Sound and Fury from him. And then walking around downtown Richmond one day, there's a record store. Go in the record store, pick up a copy of Clutch, Blast Tyrant, and then was
it Plan 9 that you went to?
I did. Plan 9.
Plan 9 Records. Sorry. They're good records. Sure.
It's a record store named after the Ed Wood film, Plan 9. Yeah. And then, of course, go into Goodwill, and I find a copy of Bruce Springsteen. So here I am. I mean, only a few weeks removed from Christmas, and I'm starting to accrue this again. So part of me is kind of like, I'm a little nervous, because I've got these physical things again. But also, too, it's another thing that I'm investing in that it's kind of like, I'm looking at my record player right now, and it's just kind of sitting there, So, I mean, it goes for all of those kinds of things. Last year, I was like, I'm going to start collecting vintage board games. and I bought, like, the E.T. board game and Knight Rider, that board game.
Wow.
And,
yeah.
So it's like
we were going to start doing those nights, doing board game nights, but then the pandemic happened, because I ended up buying a few, because you got me on that kick, dude.
I did.
Dude, I even bought Girl Talk as a joke that would be so fucking fun and funny to play with a bunch of friends, and then what was it, the Friday the 13th board game that came out a few months ago?
That's right.
I picked that up. Still haven't opened it up because we have this thing called a pandemic. So yeah, but it's ready there when we're back out and about, though.
But actually, Aaron, that kind of gets us to where earlier you had asked like a holy grail, and I had mentioned video games and stuff. But actually, there is one holy grail, and that is a mint condition Nightmare on Elm Street board game with all the pieces. It's going for It's hundreds of dollars, man. But it's like the one that you would. Well, there's a couple, and actually, so I'd want to be greedy and want both of them. There's one where it's like the board is kind of weird and looks like a dreamscape, and then there's another one that you would actually build the board that had like different rooms and stuff. So both of those, I would say, would be my holy grail. There you go.
That was something that I. A while ago was about to jump into, was doing that as well, and we had I don't know if it was in the States as well, was it, I think it might have been called Atmosphere or something. It came with like VHS tapes.
Yes. Yeah, I have one, but I think I know the one you're talking about with the guy in the cloak.
And like, I came super close. I remember having, I don't know why that one sticks out in particular, but I remember having that, and I was like, this is such a bizarre, and I never really knew how to play the game properly. Right. And like, I don't know where it went, and I had that thing in like perfect condition. And like, and that's it just like vanished. I have no idea.
And that's the thing.
Our friends, the Parks, have that, by the way.
They do have it.
Yeah, they have. What is that game called?
It's called Atmosphere. It's AMOS fear/nightmare game.
Nightmare. That was Nightmare. Okay, that was what. Okay.
Now the cool thing about it is that you can actually it's on YouTube. Apparently, you can watch it on YouTube. But I think it was VCR, and then they also did like a DVD game version as well.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know that. That's the one we're all talking about.
There it is.
Nightmare. Yeah.
I even looking at that again now, I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna buy that so bad.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's expensive now as well, and I'm like, well,
of course it is
for what it is, and I'm like, do I need this, or am I actually going to? Is there any point?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that sentence right there. Do I need this? No. What you need is a roof, central air and heating, food, and and love. Those are the things that humanity needs. Everything else is kind of like but the thing is, how much joy will that give you? That's where you got to weigh that, because you can be like, I just spent how much on this thing? And I'm like, it's going up on the shelf, and you never mess with it. That's where it's like, don't get me wrong. If I saw that, I'd be like, ooh, but then I'd have to have that inner talking me off the ledge. Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know if you should do this, man.
You know who really benefits from all of this? Shelving companies.
Big shelving?
Yes.
Big shelving?
The big shelving corporations.
So if you guys, again, it's another one of those questions like where you're nearly being asked to like pick between kids or whatever, but do you have, we won't do five, let's say 3 movies that maybe are like a guilty pleasure. Like something, how could I give you an example? Like I really like the Texas Chainsaw 2003. A lot of people don't like that. I don't know if you've ever seen the Paul Walker movie Roadkill.
No,
it's called Joyride, I think, in the States.
Joyride, yes. I saw that in the theater. Yeah,
I love that movie.
What was it? Candy cane.
Candy cane.
I love that movie. And like a lot of people shit on it, or like it's awful. So like, do you have like 2 or 3 movies like that you can think of that maybe you're seeing as like not so good that you just?
Oh yeah, dude, that's like my bread and butter. Hold on, I'm just gonna look back. Yeah. I'm gonna look at my collection here because I know I got a few in here at least. Shoot, sorry, there's going to be a lot of dead air because.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll go ahead on this one first, and John, you can do your research while you peruse your thousands of copies.
It's only a few hundred, sir. Please, that's a few thousand be ostentatious. What are you talking about?
Right. For me, I mean, I really dig the Kevin Williamson films, I mean, yeah, of course, Scream, but Disturbing Behavior, The Faculty, just kind of like you can almost kind of group all those movies, and you could start with Scream and go through every Kevin Williamson horror movie, as a marathon if you wanted to. I know some of them, even the ripoffs, I guess for lack of a better term, like the urban legends and stuff like that. It was a really fun time of horror. I'd even group Halloween H2O into that, right?
Yeah, 100%.
It's very similar to all of that. So as far as guilty pleasure, there are those, but then also too trauma movies like the big ones like Terror Firmer. I love Terror Firmer. It's a great flick. I love the making of Terror Firmer that Lloyd Kaufman and them do. I love the making of Poultrygeist. I love Poultrygeist, so watching the behind the scenes, along with them, those are the ones that are really my guilty pleasure. I mean, shoot, even Cannibal the Musical that Matt Stone and Trey Parker did. There are just so many crazy trauma films that are just so over the top, and I'm watching them and I'm like, it's really disgusting for disgusting's sake, but it's for some reason, it's like I see the message. Lloyd Kaufman is. I mean, there is a story. There is a message. You get past all of the sight gags and stuff like that. I mean, it's filmmaking.
He's so good in that Blockbuster documentary.
He is.
He's really good in that.
Because he's like, fuck Blockbuster. I hate him. Yeah, but he's great.
Yeah,
that's what.
When you were talking about trauma, it reminded me of, do you remember when Dark Castle kind of had that re-emergence there at one point? And I just looking at some of the movies, like I really liked Gothica with Halle Berry.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They brought out Ghost Ship, which is another favorite of mine. House on Haunted Hill remake. Again, like the cheesy and like kind of bad, but I just love them. House of Wax 2005, 13 Ghosts.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and like I love all those movies. I realize that they're not perfect movies by any means, but and I've kind of gone one step further now. I just bought the Scream Factory releases so I can go back and listen to the audio tracks and the behind the scenes and all the stuff.
Nice.
It's fun to dive into that as well when you have those things that you wanna.
I think I found a few here, and I even brought props, even though people at home can't see. Escape from L.A.
Oh yeah, that's
wow.
That's.
But I even have the poster right over there of it. But yeah, I mean, it's the sequel to Escape from New York. Here's another one that's almost in the same vein. I don't know why. Johnny Mnemonic. I will watch this. This is not a good movie.
I have not seen that.
You've never seen it?
No, I've seen it once.
Oh,
I haven't seen that in. Wow. Even looking at that artwork, I was like, wow, Jesus.
Yeah. Orange. Now, here's an older one. Now, a lot of people do like this, but I feel that this is a guilty pleasure. The Devil's Reign. Ernest Borgnine is the cult leader, and it has William Shatner, John Travolta, and Tom Skerritt in this movie. This movie's badass. The same guy who did the special effects for Planet of the Apes did like the gore effects. So even in the trailer, if you watch it, they go, "Oh yeah, then the creator of the special effects for Planet of the Apes." Now this one, my buddy Josh, our friend Josh Parks, his brother rented this, and I finally found it. Was able to get it on VHS. The Invisible Maniac. This movie's so bad, it's terrible. You've never seen this, have you?
I've never seen it. No.
It's so stupid. We quoted this thing so much because it was so bad it's good. Yeah, this movie is really terrible. The Invisible Maniac. It's like from like 1990, I think. Yeah, 1990.
Yeah, I'm just looking that up here. Wow.
Yeah, it's bad.
That's wow.
I actually think I'm going to post the artwork for this on Instagram just because it's just. I'm just looking at it, and then I'm looking at the plot of the movie, and I'm like, "What?
It's terrible."
Oh my god! Yeah, it's. What is wrong with you, John? And you haven't seen the Blair Witch Project?
Excuse me.
So I have another kind of I suppose it'll probably start a little bit of a topic. If you could make your own entry in any existing horror franchise, what would it be and why?
Well, hell, I already have that answer. You mean like create something or act or
yeah,
what do you
like if you could write or direct or whatever
I got one right now
franchise.
That if I could write it right now and I had the money, I'd shoot it myself. It'd be like in the vein of like like remember the Grindhouse movie that had Planet Terror and Death Proof? It'd be in the vein of that, where it's a retro kind of like throwback to 70s and early 80s exploitation. I already have an idea and everything. Like write and direct. Well, I don't know about directing, but definitely write. The pitch is the name of it would be Lot Lizard. It would be based on a Texas. Sure, yeah, I've told you this story. Yes, a Texas truck stop where there's people are popping up eviscerated, dead, like truckers and stuff like that. But and also too, it's a. Have you heard of the term Lot Lizard? Mm-hmm. It's not. Okay, yeah, it's not a very nice term. It's ladies of the evening who hang out at truck stops. So, but the thing is, the whole twist is this one woman in particular can transform into a giant lizard. She's going on a kill spree. So, I mean, that's just the idea right there. Boom. But it's definitely like, yeah, it's in that vein of like the Thanksgiving trailer from Eli Roth, like Werewolf Woman with the SS. It's definitely grindhouse exploitation, like that's gonzo crazy. It's exploitation for exploitation. You know, I would do that if I had the opportunity. Yeah.
Nice.
That's a good idea.
I'm sorry.
It sounds like that was scripted. It was like, just for anyone who is listening, I had no idea he had that ready.
Because that's one of those ideas. I'm like, because I went to school like for videography, and I've always loved movies. I always wanted. That was my thing. At first, I wanted to be a comic book artist as a kid, and I was told that's too hard to get into, and that ruined. I went, oh man, really? But then, like later on, I got into videography in high school, and then I went to college for it, but. I went to like an art college that really didn't pursue it as much as it wasn't like a film school, but I've always like, I've done little bits here and there of like video stuff over the years. So yeah, if I had a budget, it'd look awesome. It would look really, really good. But again, that's like hiring the right people to do it too. So.
Yeah, Jon has, over the years, the conversations and the ideas that we've come up with. In fact, on some of our watch parties, we come up with like remakes and recasts or sequels and things like that. I'll tell you what I would do is a couple different ideas. My first one would be, you take Friday the 13th, right? Mm-hmm. And then you take VHS and the formula like VHS 1 and 2 and all of that. You take Friday the 13th and you put them in a blender and mix them up. So basically you have an anthology found footage Friday the 13th film. Okay? Where you get different directors to do different parts. You get the Blair Witch guys. You get some of the best up and coming horror. To do it, but you have maybe an anthology of these found footage Friday the 13th films that kind of are all about the myth of Jason, and maybe Camp Crystal Lake as a whole. I think that the Friday the 13th thing would be kind of scary found footage, but done in a style that's anthology and like VHS, because, found footage to me was kind of stale, and then VHS kind of pumped life back into it, and so I would definitely do it that way. That way you get many different people, many different takes. And then there you go. The other idea is that if I had all the money in the world and was able to purchase all of the rights of everything, I would do Monster Squad, but I would do it with the Monster Squad against Michael Myers, Ghostface, Freddy, just Leatherface, Pinhead, all those cinematic, guys, the new monsters, so to speak, the slashers and stuff. Have that, bring in Ash as like the father of one of them or something. Like, I don't know, an Uncle Ash along with the Monster Squad, but redo the Monster Squad, but kind of like that, it's just kind of a new spin. I mean, it would be great. I know when Ready Player One came out and people were saying, Chucky and Freddy and just everything, all but the kitchen sink put in there. I think people would kind of dig that. You get Finn Wolfhard and the rest of the Stranger Things kid. Hey, make it Stranger Things as the Monster Squad against all of these people. I don't know, but something that would just be so balls to the wall crazy that you'd be like, kind of like when the Avengers first came out. You're like, I can't believe I'm seeing all of these people on the same screen. Now we're kind of used to the Avengers. You know what? If you took and just put all the horror movie icons into one fucking thing and have them go against a bunch of kids, why not? It would be balls to the wall crazy. In fact, make them all fight each other in Hellfest. I don't know.
I'd watch it.
Hell yeah. Just throw the book at it, man. Just oversaturate it, and have all the directors on it too. I don't care. Have, have Adam and Joe Lynch, have Robert Rodriguez, bring in Ari Aster. I don't give a fuck. Let them all do something on it. But just do it. Just be like, We Are the World of horror movie mashups.
It's funny, actually, you mentioned Friday the 13th and found footage. I think that was actually considered at one point. They were looking at going down that route, and I don't know what happened. It just fell apart.
I think the legal stuff kind of happened. I think they were going that route, and then they were gonna go into another one. Of course, that's the great thing about fan-made films nowadays, right? Is there's the Don't Hike in what is it? Don't Hike in the Woods?
Yeah.
Or
Don't hike alone,
Don't
and Don't Hike in the Snow.
Those two have been the most. Yeah, they've been the most Friday the 13th things I've ever seen. And I don't see any reason why you couldn't do a found footage kind of thing. I know Resurrection, which the shirt I see you're wearing, Aaron, is your Dangertainment shirt.
Yeah, I saw that. I went, hey, man.
At some point, I was waiting to get that in there. I was like, well, how can I segue into Resurrection?
There you go. Well, I mean, and that's the thing is that Resurrection, they were like, you know what? We're going to bring back Michael Myers, but guess what? We're going to put that Blair Witch spin in it, right? I mean, and it's okay, but
that's one of those, like, when I ask you guys, do you have movies that are like guilty pleasures? It's like that for me. It's like one of those kind of so bad it's good, I'll watch it.
Right.
I love the opening scene, but after that,
right.
It just kind of just goes downhill so bad. But now I like that's why I wanted this shirt, because I just, every time I think about Dangertainment, I just can't stop thinking about the fact that Busta Rhymes is in that movie and just how ridiculous he is.
Yeah,
just the whole thing with him, and then the fight scene, and just everything about that movie is just bizarre.
He chews the scenery like mad. I'm like, was that a choice, or was he told to do that? I don't know.
And like even when he's like casting them at the start or whatever, he's like so over the top. I'm like, I don't know if somebody wrote this for him, or he just went, you know what, I'm Busta Rhymes, I'm just gonna do my own thing and like just kind of go off the cuff and do whatever.
All right.
I could just see him coming in. Yo.
That's what I felt like. I was like, I wonder, is that a thing where he's like such a personality at the time? It's like, oh, okay, your character's just gonna go do that. Oh, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
Like Katie Sackhoff, because she's in it, was recently, because she has a YouTube channel, was she hadn't
Talking
seen the
about
movie.
It? Yep.
Yeah. Did you see it?
Yeah.
And she was like, oh my God, I said that. And then she even did like a little bit of like, like film school, like, oh, see that? That's not me doing that. I pulled my shirt up a little bit. I didn't show a bra. That's a stunt bra. That's a stunt person. And so I was like, oh wow, this is pretty good, because she hadn't watched it since it had came out, I guess. Yeah.
If you could recast a horror icon from any time, who and you had to recast them with, well, either somebody from years ago or somebody new, who, you know, say like a Freddy or whatever. I know a lot of people make the argument that Freddy is never going to work. Yeah. Unless it's Robert Englund.
Mm-hmm. Is
there anybody you could think of for something like that you would go, you know what, he might actually... I see a lot of people mention Kevin Bacon.
Yeah. I think that I think Kevin Bacon, I mean, and he's expressed interest. You know, I think Kevin Bacon would make a good Freddy. The thing is, I think what we learned with the remake is the makeup matters, practical effects matter, or at least make them look like they're practical effects, Well,
didn't they drop the ball with that movie by not doing a lot of dream stuff?
Well, that's the thing, is they wanted to cross over the dream into the real world kind of thing. So it's, there was one scene where she's going on the floor in a pharmacy, and they show kind of like a strobe effect where Freddy is walking down the aisle, and behind him is the boiler room, but then it's like they show the real world, and it's like the things are flying off the shelves because Freddy is knocking them over, kind of thing. So yeah, it wasn't. I don't think the dreamscape was very much explored. In that it was more about him in affecting
reaching into the real world,
right? But I think Kevin Bacon could do it if you had the right story and you had the right makeup and looks and everything.
He just can't look like that.
No. But I kind of got what they were going for. They were going for realistic burn victim, kind of look. And Jackie Earle Haley, I mean, his voice was okay, and it's not, he didn't write the dialogue.
He's a good actor. It's just right. I mean, it also, those are some huge shoes to fill, man. I mean,
absolutely.
They try to get rid of Robert Englund for part 2, and they shot a few things with the other guy, and they're like, this is not working. This is not going to work. And then they brought him in. So, I mean, they even try to I think he's going to want more money. Now we can just have anyone be Freddy because it's makeup, and they learn it's not.
Yeah, and I feel like that character in particular is always one that people are like, nah, nobody else does it for me.
Right.
And I think a lot of people, that's probably why a lot of people don't like that remake, because you've already got your mind made up.
They were already going, it ain't Robert.
It was, right. I don't like, and I think I might have listened to either a making of documentary or something about that. And it seemed like for the most part, everybody's heart was in the right place. And they were trying to, with the makeup and stuff, making it like a realistic Burns victim. And I don't know, it was just something goofy looking about him, or he didn't. I know Freddy Krueger is a goofy character anyway, but I don't know, it just didn't look
right.
You know what it was? I think what didn't help, because they milked, was it both eyes or just one? They milked over an eye. You lose the soul of somebody when you don't see their eye. I think even Tom Savini said that, when he did the 1990 Night of the Dead, he wanted once you take the eyes away, you take away the person. And and they did, I think it was lenses, or I don't think special effects CGI or anything like that, but it was lenses just to try to milk over the eye to get rid of that human element. But that's the thing, you get Robert Englund. And at a certain point with that character, Freddy had turned him on the verge of being a stand-up comedian, and so I think that's that. But I think that separated the actual Jackie from the audience by,
And I think people really loved the camp. Now, here's a thought as far as with Freddy. Do you think Bill Moseley could pull it off?
Oh, I'm going to go with yes. Just from a Texas Chainsaw 2. Holy shit. Yeah.
Now,
Oh my God,
you mention that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Bill Moseley could definitely do camp. He can do scary. And, you know, I think it would be, hey, we're not, we're respecting Robert's portrayal of Freddy, and this is something new. He could bring, I mean, dare I say it, Rob Zombie's Nightmare on Elm Street. All right, if a horror website came out tomorrow and said Rob Zombie's Nightmare on Elm Street coming 2022, starring Bill Moseley, the internet would the horror community would implode on itself. Its butthole would pucker. And, you know, I mean, it would be the biggest news. And the thing is that movie coming out in the theaters on demand and where it would make bucks. It would make huge bucks.
Yeah, it would do very well. I just the spectacle of it because of like just that hearing that I'm like, yeah, I want to see it just to see where it goes. Yeah. Oh my gosh!
So that's my idea. I'll
that's actually a really good idea.
Yeah. I gotta follow that.
What you got, Ramsey?
I ain't got shit. Because I started thinking of like old Universal, but I'm like, that's kind of been done. You know, reading. I mean, even though they did De Niro as Frankenstein, what?
I know this. Jack Nicholson as Wolfman.
He looked badass, but the movie could have been better. I honestly don't know. I think you guys kind of nailed it on that one. For me to say anything would be a waste of time.
Yes. Peter Dinklage as the Toxic Avenger.
Yeah. Yeah, because isn't he supposed to be He
is supposed to be the Toxic Avenger.
I wonder how they're going to do that.
I don't know.
I'll watch it. Take my money.
Just based off of that alone, the fact that I'm like, wait, how? What?
Yeah. Peter Dink, the Dink, is going to be the Toxic Avenger in the big budget adaptation of the Toxic Avenger, man.
Which I think is cool that's gotten to that point.
Yeah.
Well, James Gunn, man. I mean, come on. Look at what Trauma has. I mean, James Gunn is an amazing director and came up through there. Joe Lynch worked in Trauma. I mean, come on, Matt Stone and Trey Parker were able to have their film. You know, Trauma gave them their first. I think with time, I mean, granted, Uncle Lloyd is kind of revered now, but I think maybe one day he'll get his honorary Oscar and he'll take it and he'll pull down his pants and take a dump on it and give a big F you to all those people in the audience.
You know how cool if he got a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Oscars? That would be awesome. That would be so cool, man.
And he would take that opportunity to tell every one of them to go F themselves.
Yes.
So what got you guys on the podcast? Where did that all come from, or the whole conception of everything?
When we start off?
Yeah. How did that all come about? Like, what?
We had done one. Well, we talked about it for years. The first time I ever heard of like what a podcast is and what can be done with one was like 2011. I think we're at a horror convention, and Rodney was wearing a Jay and Silent Bob T-shirt. Said, I think it was Snoogans.
It was a Snoogans shirt, right?
And one of the vendors was like, "Hey, man, Snoogans!" They were like, "Hey, yeah!" And he goes, "Oh, have you been listening to the podcast?" And much like Jay from Jay, what the fuck's a podcast? Like, what is that? I don't know what that is. And even you were like, I don't know what that is. Yeah, cool, whatever, bud. But apparently, yeah. Oh wow, this is really cool stuff. So. Years later, so that was like 2011. So, my gosh, 2019. Yeah,
Was it? No. We listened for quite a bit, but then, we'd go on these road trips to, we went to the Quick Stop up in New Jersey. We went to some horror movie conventions out in the Midwest and did some really cool road trip kind of thing, hitting up Point Pleasant, where the Mothman is, going to Monroeville Mall, where Dawn of the Dead was filmed, and seeing Evansville Cemetery, where Night of the Living Dead was filmed. Being able, and so these would be long road trips. I mean, and even when we were younger in middle school, we always talked this way and everything. And so on one of our road trips, we were just driving and stuff. We found out what this amazing thing called a podcast was. And I was like, digging our conversation, I'm like, man, we should do a podcast. We could do it. I mean, shit, we've been talking for 8 fucking hours on the road.
Yeah. I mean, and also too, it became one of those things where we'd always said, we should do that, but it was never, it was always talk. Yeah, that'd be cool if we did that. But how do you do that? And really, I mean, I had friends that had gotten into it, and they're buying big mixing, tables and this and that. And I'm like, how much is a microphone? I'm like, I don't know if I can do all this. I don't know if I can afford it. But it wasn't until it was 2019. Mutual friend of ours wanted to do one. We took a crack at it. Didn't work out. And then a few months went by. Actually, probably more like 5 or 6 months. And Rodney, you went on a podcast, right?
I did. So the way that it worked out is when we did ours in the summer with another party, it was one of those things where we kind of realized that we could do it, right? And we actually would listen, and we're like, it didn't sound half bad. So when that dissolved, it was one of those things where, I kept going back to John. Well, hey, remember the original idea and the original title you had? Let's do it. Let's make it happen. It's one of those things where, you talk about things and everything, and you just don't really kind of jump into it. I had some friends that did a fantasy football podcast, and they had me on there, and that's fantasy American football, not like European football. Yeah, soccer. Yes, sorry, I don't mean to say so. I'm apologizing to the nation of Ireland for saying football American. It's the whole thing. When I come over, it's I'll pay my penance when I come visit. But it was one of those things where. We kept wanting to do it, and so we wound up recording a couple episodes with a couple more people. Right?
Hold on, you kind of missed something there.
What is it
on that fantasy football?
Oh yeah, sorry.
We talked about, hey, let's do that. We're like, yeah, we're gonna do that. We're gonna buy mics and this and that. So he went. When I talked to you after you went, hey, we gotta go buy mics and stuff, because I said we're going to start one up in about 2 weeks. And I went, oh, well, I better get a mic. Yeah. Because this is a thing now. This is happening. But no, the reason why I mention that is because that lit the flame under my ass to be like, okay, this is real again. We're going to do this. And this is going to be our thing. So sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Right. When I had said that on that fantasy football podcast, they were like, well, you had a podcast. What happened with it? And I was like, well, actually, I've got another one. And of course, dropped the Plastic Fangs, because John had originally brought up that the name for the prior podcast. I mean, thankfully, it wasn't used because
it got shot down because it would have just been, we can't use that.
But it's but I said, the Plastic Fangs podcast is coming. So I got on the horn with John. I said, dude, it's on there. It's out there. We can't disappoint the tens of people that heard it. And actually, a lot of our friends had given us feedback saying they really enjoyed listening to the podcast that we had done originally, and when we would do more or what have you. So that kind of, we felt that we had a little bit of a little bit of juice. I mean, hey, as long as our friends don't think we're assholes, why not?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Sometimes that's all it takes. Where did you come up with the name? Just random, or
it was Jon.
Yeah, I think I did one of those things where you sit down, you start writing up like nostalgic things that, because like Halloween, I can speak for Rodney, but I'm going to speak for you too, Aaron. I'm going to guess Halloween is a big part of your life, which I know is also with ours. So it's just like, we knew we wanted to do a horror centric podcast, but also too, we'll diverge off on other stuff too. So what kind of blends horror, but also nostalgia of everything? And that kind of like, I had like a list of like a few names, and I was like, oh, Plastic Fangs Podcast, because you got the two P's, the alliteration in there. So that's just really how it came out. I couldn't even tell you what the other names I'd come up with. We might have an old like text, old texting you have on there, but but that's the one that just kind of like stuck. Rodney dug it, I kind of dug it, and then there we go. That's how it came about.
And then, of course, it's so easy to find a pair of plastic fangs to take pictures with or draw or what have you. Now, of course, it was December, right? December, we got a new logo from a really good friend.
This December,
from a really good friend of ours, Jason Newcomb, who just started creating stuff, and that kind of helped steer us in a different direction either. Because then shortly after that, we had gotten in contact with Kate Hodge to come and onto the show, and we've been able to just so. I'd mentioned Pearl Jam earlier. Eddie Vedder actually is famous for saying, if you want to know that you're good at doing something, do it 100 times. And then, and then maybe you'll know that you're good. And, that quote kind of sticks with me because believe me, there are some times when I might go back and listen to a show and be like, man, I shouldn't have said it that way or what have you. I mean, we're our own worst critics or what have you. But the more you do something, it almost is instinctively the better you get. And, doing podcasting or what have you, it's not so much about the audience or the people that hear it. During this whole time, it's been therapy. It's been Jon and I's ability to, because as much as we would hang out and go and do stuff and everything, it's been our way of keeping in touch. But it's also been great to meet great people and new friends, like you, Aaron.
This endeavor has opened up doors that I never knew that were there, let alone, oh, hey, that's a thing. I would have never, a year ago, I mean, like, we're gonna be talking to another, I could say a fellow podcaster, because we're doing it now from Ireland. That wouldn't even been a thought. It would just be like, what are you talking about? So it's just one of those things where, like, if you do something, especially when it's positive, more positive stuff comes out of it. And I'm not trying to sound like a like a motivational speaker, but it really is, because a lot of people will think, well, how can I get into that? And I think even Sid Haig said that, just go do it. Just do it, and that's really what it is. Just go do it. All the stuff is there for you. And if you're not sure, research.
And it sounds really like, it sounds really cliche. And this is coming from somebody who either said I was going to do things multiple times and never done them, or maybe got in the early stages of multiple things and just went, nah, I'm just gonna, for whatever reason, I would just over critique or criticize it and then just not do it. And I do think there's a degree of, as well, when you start to do these things, there's a degree of like, I guess, imposter syndrome, where you're kind of like, there's times I do that, like even when I'm talking to you guys and I'm like, who do I think I am, or who am I trying to be here? And I'm like, wait a second, but I'm just talking to two people who are like me. This is not like I'm not trying to be anything. But I think in my head, I'm thinking somebody's going to listen to this and think, oh God, what a dickhead, or what a this, what a that. And it's like,
right.
I think that stops a lot of people from doing a lot of things.
Yeah.
And it is just a case of just trying to just get it started and just go from there, whatever.
One of the big... Oh, sorry. Go ahead, John.
Sorry. I mean, when you just said that, Aaron, I'm lucky, and this isn't about kissing your ass, Rodney, but the imposter feeling, like why, like, because I have a partner in this, that this guy here is helping me out, so it's comfortable because I know he's got my back, and I'm going to guess vice versa. So that definitely helps, because what you're doing, Aaron, that's I applaud you, sir. And I know this is not becoming like, you do such a great job. No, but you do. Because it's just you're running this, I got someone to fall back on, luckily, and vice versa. So, but yeah. And
the best part about it too is that we also call each other out on our bullshit, so that kind of keeps us humble as well,
and creates content for the show.
It does. But one of the biggest compliments that I've gotten, and it's been numerous times from numerous different people, is that I've listened to the show that said, I'll put it on and it's like I'm in the room with you guys. And, I will, I've got a friend, John knows him too, Brandon the barber, who will say, I yell at John so much, because he's like, sometimes I'll yell at you or what have you. So in a way, it is kind of that interactive, but our show is just like it is and has always been since we've been hanging out back in middle school. Yeah. The words are a bit more flavorful sometimes, the content a little bit more blue, but generally it's all the same. And that to me is a great compliment, because at the end of the day, I'd love to be sitting around a table with people. That's what's been so fun about recording our episode with you, Aaron, and of course you having us on your show now, is the fact that when you bring in other people, who get it, just like you have these great conversations, and I'm sure there's going to be many more to come, sir.
100%. I hope so. So what's last few questions, plans for the future for the podcast, and where would you like to see it go?
Well, I don't think we've actually had this conversation really. This has been mine since the beginning. I'm going to let the show take me where it's going to take me, because if I start having preconceived notions about this is this thing now, and it has to be in this box, this is what it is, then I think it takes away from the spontaneity that we have with it. I'm letting it naturally take its course to wherever it takes me. And that's not just going, I don't want to think about it. No, because each show, like especially if we're doing like a watch party, or if like, hey, what am I going to bring? I try to be as meticulous with research, just so I know the show is kind of worth something, but then that can turn into something else later. You don't know. You have I guess there is a plan to keep on doing it, but I don't know what the future is. I don't know what that holds for me. I just know if I keep on sticking with it and enjoying it as more like a hobby because I don't feel like this is my job. You know, it doesn't feel like, oh, I got to go do this thing. It's fun. So yeah, that's where it's for me. What about you, Rod?
Yeah, definitely. I 100% agree. It's kind of like when we started doing it, and you know, there'd be times when even right before we hit record, we don't know what the fuck we're going to say. and it'll sometimes go in a direction that we couldn't have sat down and read
we could
as good or planned it as good as it came out. Like we've done some bits, like one of them is Coot, which is what if it's a Smoking the Bandit / Knight Rider kind of melding together, where it's like Kit is the voice of Jerry Reed, you know, and it's and it was like Coot, it was Coot, you know, which I forget what we
Coors Original Overt Transportation, please.
Yes, yeah, Coors Original Overt Transportation. Yeah, sorry.
And then I think I came on. I did a Casey Kasem impersonation, right. And that was I still go back and listen to that, and I'm like, that's hilarious. We said that it was just stupid, funny stuff, you know.
Yeah, that just kind of comes off the cuff. Now, as far as what the future holds, probably my biggest goal is to get as much attention from the big boobed goth girls on Reddit as I can. So that is really that's my main goal. Big boob goth women on Reddit, and the ghost nipples too. That's the goal. That's the goalpost. That's what we're going for. I can't. You know, I don't want the ghost nipples forum to get upset that I didn't mention them too, but yeah. So that's my. When you talk about the future, just be big with those two crowds. What
are ghost nipples, by the way? I don't.
You don't know what ghost nipples are?
Clearly not. I'm asking. Google it.
All right. So, well, you could.
Is it too embarrassing to bring up?
Well, no, it's not embarrassing. It's like a breast where the areola is very flesh colored, and you can't really see. It's like a faint pink. It's like their skin is very, very fair and white. Aaron, do you have any knowledge about people with fair white skin?
Plenty of them over here.
Okay.
Yeah. If you can believe that.
I'm being facetious, of course, Aaron. It's all in good fun, but yes, which ghost nipples I'm sure are very prevalent in the Emerald Isle.
100%.
Yes.
100%.
So when COVID's over, I know where I'm headed. See, so John, there's a thing where you have to know your audience, and I'm pretty sure that some ghost nipples might be listening to Aaron's podcast.
I would imagine so.
There you go. So yeah, that's my.
Right. Okay. So final things then. What keeps you interested in horror, and why horror?
You want to take this, Rodney, first?
Yeah, I'll take it. So the interest in horror is the fact that regardless of whether a movie makes you scared or what have you, it's something like Saw. You know, I had seen so many horror movies and everything up till Saw, you know, but it's like you get that surprise, kind of like The Sixth Sense. You get that surprise, you know. Sometimes you don't even see something coming. It elicits a response. It elicits an emotion. You feel like you've been through a ride, you've made it out alive, you know, but it still sits with you after the fact. What I love about it is when I think nothing else, you know, I've seen it all. Nothing else is going to, you know, make me feel this certain way. And you see a film that does it. You know, for me, Midsummer, Hereditary, most recently that have come out. And of course, you know, chasing that fear that I had when I saw, like I had when I saw that Freddy stand up. That's what I love about horror. That's what keeps me coming back to horror, is the fact that, and honestly, through this whole pandemic, Host. Mm-hmm. I mean, you could watch that movie on a laptop and you feel the tension and everything. Not only that, but Host was the movie that my 12-year-old son could watch and then be so excited about it, that, yeah, it did scare him and it scared him, but be so excited about it afterwards that he's showing his friends Host. And so right there, you see that age group, they're getting that horror community. The one that we're already a part of, and the one that so many other people and the millions of horror movie podcasts out there, but just the fact that it's a part. And so it's a tradition, and it's something that is better than, you're not going to have, you're not going to have the same with Titanic. You're not going to have Titanicon 2025.
Titanicon.
Yeah. Hey, we're copyrighted. Yeah, Titanicon. It's going to be 2024 Titanicon in Ireland, in your neck of the woods. What?
Wexford.
At Bono's house.
Yeah.
Titanicon. Yes. So yeah, that in a nutshell is why. So.
John.
For me, like when you'd ask, like one of the first questions he asked was, what got me into it? What got me into it is because I was scared. And to an extent, there's some stuff I'm like, ooh, that's still, I still get scared from watching scary movies, even though I know it's fake and this and that. But, I think part of it too is just because I think Rodney had said this before in the past. It's like conquering a fear, getting over because ultimately what brings us to like watching these movies, even though we know it's not real, it reminds you of death, because it is, people dying. And ultimately, we're born and we're going to die. So it's really that psychological thing that keeps on bringing me back, because I know that's eventually going to happen to me, So the watching horror is this might sound just, like someone else has probably said this a million times too, but it's me conquering my fear of death. Ultimately, at the end of the day, and at the end of my days, if you will, but yeah, that's what really keeps me coming back, because you survive it. You survive the story, you survive that scary thing you just saw, and also too, if it's smart. Who doesn't like a smart movie too? You're like, oh wow, that was really good, really well acted. Really, it's because when it's done right, it's an art form too. So and that's what keeps bringing me back, because it reminds me of our mortality, and if it's hopefully artful, and even if it's not, I was entertained.
Yeah, I don't think I could even probably attempt to try and sum it up any better than either of those answers. I think everyone has a similar. Most people would probably have I don't want to say a similar answer, but that there's so many different things. And then I guess, like we talked, and I never really thought about it like that earlier when I asked about, do you guys have something that you've collected or a physical thing that's like your favorite thing? It's like, I don't know if it's so much that than it is maybe the experience tied to something. And that's probably why I like still collecting movies and stuff, because I can, when I got Joyride, for example, on DVD, the fact that I have that there, every time I pull that out and look at it, it reminds me of the first time I saw it in my grandparents' house or wherever it was or whatever was going on. And you can kind of backtrack, and it brings you back to kind of that place. It's a weird,
pulls back to a moment. Yeah. Because really, I think I've said it in the past too, like, do the experiences now that you can, because once it's gone, and that again, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but yeah, that's why we collect.
Yeah.
like you're just saying, like that, it pulls us back to that point. Yeah.
Well, it's been, I've took up probably enough of your time at this point now.
Oh, dude!
It's like because I could just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk.
Yeah, we could do an 11-part series, a Time Life novel, encyclopedia version. So just go through the ages through Z. Yeah.
For everybody, you can check the guys out on Plastic Fangs Podcast on Instagram and on Facebook, and then Plastic Fangs Pod on Twitter. Anywhere you get podcasts, Plastic Fangs Podcast. I will give 2 recommendations for episodes that were my favorite. One of them is the Kate Hodge episode, which is absolutely amazing, and the other one is actually the Halloween 3 watch party. I really like that. So if anybody's looking for podcast for an episode to jump into, choose one of the 2 of those.
Awesome.
Thank you.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah.
And final thing then. So we need from each of you a Plastic Fangs approved recommendation. So it can be a horror movie, a book, whatever, music, anything you want.
I'm going to go ahead and put the Plastic Fangs endorsement on the Ghost Nipples forum of Reddit. I'm sorry. John, I know John.
Well, give me 1 second. I have the book. I don't want to have to run it over to my room to go grab it.
While you're doing that, you were about to drop it. Go ahead, sir.
Gentleman of the name Mike McPadden recently passed away. He was almost a historian, if you will. He wrote 2 books that are really, really good. Teen Movie Hell, Crucible of Coming of Age Comedies from Animal House to Zapped. And he also did another book called Heavy Metal Movies, Guitar Barbarians, Mutant Bimbos, and Cult Zombies Amok in the 66. So in the 666 most ear and eye-ripping big scream films ever. I recommend those 2 books because it's just nothing but, like, if you're like, what do I want to look up? What movies do I want to see? Those are like encyclopedias of movies that you may have not heard of. And if you have, it's just a great walk down memory lane. So I recommend Heavy Metal Movies and Teen Movie Hell. Those 2 books by Mike McPadden. He just passed away about a month ago. Yeah. So
it is a very sad loss. Yeah. Another person, unfortunately, that we didn't get to talk with, but knowing through his work, is definitely one of us. Just another fan. That got to that did something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's sad that he's gone. As far as from a movie standpoint. And we talked about Plastic Fangs and of course it conjuring up nostalgia and everything. I think one thing, and this is a recommendation of a documentary that I think really does encapsulate, the genesis of our podcast. And it's a documentary called At the Drive-In. At the Drive-In is such an amazing documentary about the Mahoning Drive-In Theater. It is a place that John and I have both been able to go to multiple times. Have had some amazing trips there. Amazing burgers at Roy Rogers on the way there, which we were like, "Holy shit, Roy Rogers is still around." But seriously, we've been able to meet Virgil. And a lot of the Mahoning family there, who, it is a family, it's an environment where you can go and just know you're with your people. It's like fucking Burning Man for movies. It's like Disneyland for movies. It's such a great, what they've been able to do with the Mahoning Drive-In Theater, is truly remarkable. And it's so great to see just the things that are happening now. A little a little kind of at that point where it's like, you know, when a rock band becomes really, really popular and they start playing arenas and you're like, I saw them at a fucking dive bar with 12 people there, you know, that's kind of how I feel kind of about the Mahoning is, you know, we got in at the right time, but love seeing the success. But they've taken the pandemic and rolled with it. They have been able to just keep the love of film and the love of, you know, nerdiness and geekdom, you know, just thriving, keeping that heart beating during this time. And to see how it all started, you know, we talked about how important it is just to do something. And the Mahoning was just, it was going to be an empty roadside attraction until one day a guy just happens to stroll through. And then another one. And that fandom and just doing it made something great happen. And I think as far as a documentary and a story and just an overall fantastic, kind of thing to follow that maybe without At the Drive-In, you know, maybe John and I wouldn't have decided to jump into podcasting.
That's a possibility. I didn't think about that. That's a possibility. Yeah.
You know, because at one time we were like, hey, let's open up a drive-in theater. Yeah. And we actually talked to people with the local businesses, local business board and everything to see if we were able to get get funding or what have you. And of course they were like, who would go to a drive-in theater?
Yeah, that was the year before 2020.
Right.
That didn't age well.
It didn't.
Right.
Well, you never know. We might see the Plastic Fangs drive-through.
We'd have to win the lottery.
Yeah. I need to knock over a few 7-Elevens. It's gonna take me a while. Bear with me.
But I can't recommend At the Drive-In. I mean, I know it's on Amazon and you can buy it anywhere. But man, I've talked about a movie that I watch over and over again. Every now and again, I go back and I watch it. And having met Virgil and his story that's so special in that film. I mean, it's like watching family movies at this point, like old family movies. So. Yeah. So that I know that was long-winded and long, but that's a lot deeper answer than I could probably give about anything. It is.
Normally my recommendation is just like, the last Blockbuster documentary because it's good.
No, but it is. It's amazing. You know, of course, I could have gone on a lot longer about the Ghost Nipples Reddit forum. That's all.
I think that's for another episode.
Okay.
Speaking of that,
of Ghost Nipples? No, I'm kidding.
Actually, no, not speaking of that. We are going to do, for anybody listening, we are going to do a Blair Witch Project watch party in the next couple of weeks. I'm not sure exactly when yet.
I'm going to set it up.
Yeah. I know the guys have done it before. I have not, so they'll probably take the lead with that and kind of show me the ropes of doing that. I think myself and Rodney are big Blair Witch fans. And then, John, you have not seen the movie before?
I've never seen it. I saw the sequel.
Which I think will be... I think that's going to make for a fun dynamic.
See, I asked Rodney, I was like, should I watch it or should I go in just like not knowing anything? Because you guys are going to know way more, because anything I look up, it's going to be paltry compared to what you guys know. So I'm thinking about just going in,
going in blind, huh?
That's what I think. That's what I think I'm going to do. Yeah, that's what I think.
But John has seen Book of Shadows.
Hell yeah.
And I'm not saying that this I'm not saying that this episode has any kind of a theme, but there is possibly ghost nipples in Book of Shadows.
I believe you're right. I get that reference. Yes. I think you're right.
Yeah. Thanks, Cap.
I don't think I've ever seen ghost nipples shoehorned into a conversation so much in like 10 minutes. But yeah, like I said, make sure to follow the guys at Plastic Fangs Podcast. All their links will be down below. Check out my episode over on their show. And like I said, if I was to recommend 2 episodes, the first 2 anyway for me would probably be the Halloween Tree Watch Party and the Kate Hodge episode. The 2 of them are fantastic. I appreciate the time, guys. It's been a long one.
Thank you.
And I look forward to doing the Blair Witch Watch Party. So everybody keep an eye out on our Instagrams for that. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Support First Class Horror on Patreon for as little as $1. Can't get enough of the horror? Carve yourself a deal from official merchandise only on Teespring. Join us on all social media at First Class Horror. We have such sights to show you.